Hey guys, what is up? Austin here, aka Bowtie Guy 97, and today I've got a comparison video for you guys. As you know, I just recently changed wheel and tire setups, and the two different tires that I got are very similar, but they are a different brand, and they're almost direct competition for each other. Just as far as looks go, price point's a different story, and we're going to be comparing the Toyo Open Country MT versus the Atturo Trailblade MT. But before we get started, go over a couple stuff. If you've been watching the videos and you're a subscriber here on the channel, you know that the exhaust is getting done this week. I'm filming this today on Wednesday, meaning it's getting done this Friday, and the video, if I can get it edited this weekend, will go up this weekend so you guys can see that. Second of all, I will be in Florence, South Carolina for East Coast Truck Jam March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. The show itself is on the 3rd and the 4th. That's a Saturday and a Sunday. If you're in that area, or even if you're just an hour or two away, it is well worth the ride as long as the weather is nice and you're not having anything to do. You should definitely come out. It's going to be a great time. They've got burnout competitions, tug of war, exhaust competition, sound competition, as well as the truck show itself. Me and the truck will be there. The truck will be in the show, and maybe I'll do something crazy like enter the burnout competition or something like that, possibly the exhaust competition, but honestly I don't think it's going to be as loud as some of them guys down there. So if you're free and available, definitely come to that show. I will be there Saturday and Sunday. I don't have a ton of subscribers, but I do know I have some down there. You guys should come out. I'd like to meet you, talk to you. Bring your truck. If you got a truck, you can also enter in the show, or you can just spectate. I'm not sure about the cost, but I will be posting up that information on my Instagram this weekend about the event. So if you can make it out, you definitely should. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so like I said, today we're going to be comparing the Toyo Open Country MT versus the Atturo Trailblade MT. Now, I just recently changed tire setups, and the only reason that I ended up with that set of tire and that set of tire is because I bought them together as kind of a deal. They were both sets were bought with the whole setup, the tire and the wheel, so I got stuck with it. I was not a fan of mud tires, and if you've been a subscriber for a while, you know I'm not a huge fan of mud tires due to the amount of highway driving I do, but for some reason I keep ending up with a mud tire. And that is mainly because that is a popular tire to run on these wheels, whether you're running a 20 by 10 or a 20 by 12, 22 by 10, 22 by 12, on up there. Those guys really like to run these mud tires, 33, 35s, 37s. It's just very popular nowadays, and that is fine. I'm not going to get into the merits of why I don't necessarily like the mud tire, but I do own both of them, so I suck it up and I continue to drive with them, even though I will be getting a different tire soon. But now, this one is a 33, that is a 35. They're both 12.5 wide. That one's just on a 22, that one's on a 20, but for the most part, they're the same tire. They're both 10-ply rating. And if you look at them, they're almost identical. If you look at the tread block, there's just very slight differences in that versus that. First thing off the bat, I noticed the lug spacing is a little bit further apart here on the Atturos than it is on the Toyos, and that's going to come into play when I talk about the noise that these tires make. Oh, there's the hero himself, the UPS man. Brings all the good stuff. But, so, as far as tread and look, it's almost about the same. The sidewall is a little bit different. I'll actually say that the Atturo has a more aggressive sidewall than the Toyo does. These blocks are kind of closer up here to the tread. These seem to come down the sidewall a little bit more. And I think that it's the same. Yes, it's the same on both sides. There's not an optional different, less aggressive or more aggressive sidewall. They are what they are, and you get what you get on the sidewall. Now let's get into handling. Handling wise, it's a mud tire. You're not going to go out there and be sporting your truck around, flying through a back road. You're just going to slide off the road. The road contact, plus how hard of a compound it is, their handling is okay. I will say, and I've only had these wheels and tires on here for a week so far, but I've put about 300 to 400 miles on them already, and I will say the Toyos have better traction than the Atturos do. on regular dry pavement, they seem to be about the same, but when it's wet, it has been raining here a lot, I have noticed that the Toyos seem to have done better than the Eterros are doing in wet weather so far. They seem to break loose a whole lot easier than the Toyos did, and I ran the Toyos for almost a year, so I was pretty used to that tire. So when I was given the same throttle input in this truck as I was when I ran the Toyos, and I was spinning, realized that the Eterros aren't as good in the rain as the Toyos were. Now, second thing, noise. If you run a mud tire, you're going to have noise. Now, I made this video before and people talked about how they weren't that loud. You need to understand something. Newer trucks are a whole lot quieter in the cab than older trucks like this are. You're going to experience a different noise volume inside the cab on older trucks than you are new trucks. You may have a brand new Silverado that's got the beautiful carpeted fender wells, and you're saying, well, my mud tires aren't loud. Well, not to you, they're not, but you know, in these old trucks where it's just a plastic liner and metal on the backside, you can hear it inside of the cab more than you can in the new trucks. So I wanted to go ahead and clarify that. If you have a new truck, you're more likely to not care as much about the sound as you do maybe if you're in an older truck. The sound may start to bother you. Rolling around town, the Toyos are actually relatively quiet when it's on around town streets, 35 to 45. Once you get above about 50 up into highway speeds, that's when they start to howl. They are pretty loud up at highway speeds, but I wouldn't call them unbearable, not like a bogger or anything. They're, you know, you can live with it, you can talk inside of the truck. It might just kind of get a little annoying like it did for me to consistently listen to them, but honestly they weren't that bad. Now, the Eterros, and like I said earlier, the wider lug spacing I think has everything to do with this. These tires are way louder. If you want that howl and you want everybody to hear you coming with those mud tires, get the Eterros, let me tell you, because they are loud. They are loud on round town streets and they are loud on the highway. I definitely think they are louder than the Toyos, and I, like I said, I contribute that to the wider lug spacing. That seems to be kind of what I'm tracing it back to, but they definitely have more volume than the Toyos did around town and on the highway. So if you're looking for a mud tire, but you're really, you know, you're going to do a mud tire, but you really prefer it to be a little quieter, I would go with the Toyo. Now, price. I have not checked, but last I did check, a set of Toyos was a couple $100 more than the Eterros were for the same size. So I think it's like $200 or $300. It might be more of a difference between the two. So now you're kind of stuck in the boat. You know, spend the extra money and get the Toyo that might be a little quieter and might last a little bit longer, or cheap out and do the Eterros because maybe you only have the setup for about a year. You know, that's going to be up to you. It's going to depend on how much money you've got at the time and whether it's worth it for you to spend the less money or spend more money. Now, if you're familiar with tires, Toyo has been around for a very long time compared to Eturo. Eturo is decently new. A lot of people still don't even know about Eturo, but it actually has gained a lot of popularity the past couple years in the truck scene. And I know sites like Custom Offsets, Wheel Pros, and all of them have sold a lot more Turos recently due to their price point, the looks, and their performance. As far as mileage goes, I did not wear these out enough to know how far they'd go, and obviously I'm nowhere near going to keep these long enough to figure out how long they go. But I will tell you this, these Toyos have about 15,000 miles on them, and there's a lot of tread left on those mud tires. And you see there's a perfectly even wear. I keep the truck aligned and I kept them rotated, so they did pretty good. I cannot speak for the mileage on these. I don't exactly know how much is on them. They seem to be wearing decently fine, so I would imagine as long as you keep your truck aligned and keep them rotated, your wear is going to be even and there's not going to be a huge problem out of that. So what I'm getting from this is it's really a price point thing. These tires are almost identical. One's just a little bit louder than the other. You know, you're paying less for the tire, you're going to get a little bit less out of the tire, but it might be worth it for you just to get the Eturo just because of the price point. You might not be driving on the highway like I do. You don't need it to be tired, you don't need the mileage, you don't need it to be as quiet as I do. So that's completely subjective, up to you. Are you going to spend the money and get the Toyo, or are you going to spend the less money and get the Atturo, and maybe you would put that less money into a nicer set of wheels. So, you know, that's completely up to you, your decision. I just wanted to let you know the difference between the two, and I hope that helps you out if you were looking to buy one, as far as what they look like side by side, and the differences that I personally have noticed between the two tires. I think they're both a good tire. The Toyo was a little bit better than the Atturo, but the Atturo is not a bad tire at all. I was coming down the interstate at almost 80 miles per hour today, and I didn't feel like I was going to die. So, you know, they're not dangerous. They actually do okay on the highway. The amount of vibration is just what you're going to have with a older truck and just a mud tire, period. You're going to have a kind of vibration at high speeds. The tire's not designed for the highway. So I really hope that helped you out. I appreciate you watching. If you're not already, hit that subscribe button. A lot of cool stuff coming. Check out the other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a great day.